Hey, welcome. Actually, I think I can get the chat on screen. There we go. Welcome to a quarterly Rational Live. I decided to live stream today. I don't normally do this anymore on Fridays. In case you're new to this channel, Friday live streams was a regular thing for years, but the podcast kind of ended that. That said, today there was a lot of these little stories that don't really involve any deep dives into anything, but was all like, oh, this is interesting. This is interesting. This is interesting. So I figured, you know what? It's Friday. I got some time. Talk about all of them. These are at least a few of them. Four or so stories that piqued my interest that we can discuss today, as well as just chat, maybe take some super chats if you're so inclined. But apart from that, let's just enjoy ourselves. Anybody watch that? So this morning, Sam Seder did a debate. I don't know if it's more of a conversation, but part debate with Tim Pool on Tim Pool show. I watched most of it. Tim Pool is so boring. Like the conversations, so much of all of their conversations was just Tim Pool taking a position, Sam Seder reiterating that position, but framing it a little differently just to help Tim Pool understand how dumb it is. And then Tim Pool going, I didn't say that. And then Tim Pool going, I said this. And then Sam saying, okay, yeah, but you're saying this. And he's going, I didn't say that. That's like the entire conversation for like 3.5 hours. There were moments where it was like, oh, this is like, it was funny. But man, it is so hard listening to Tim Pool because he's like in an active grift all the time, trying to pretend that he's some centrist or liberal when all he ever talks about, apart from these sorts of discussions with like a Sam Seder or an Emma Vigeland, his entire, if you go check his channel, it's all just like focusing on right-wing propaganda garbage. Like it's just down these rabbit holes of like civil war. Actually, it was pointed out during their discussion how little Tim Pool discusses actual policy, but knows the ins and outs of like a potential civil war that has a very slim chance of even happening. But like he knows all the details about that. When it comes to like, I don't know, things that matter, not so interested or well versed. But it was a wild discussion. Wild maybe is the wrong word. It was I don't know, not worth it. You can go watch it. Like Sam did fine. It's just Tim Pool is so boring, and the way he tries to backtrack, every 3 sentences is just frustrating to watch. How you all doing today? You all doing well? It is a nice Friday. Last night was Halloween. Went out with my child and did some trick-or-treating. Though he kept forgetting to say trick-or-treat, I had to keep reminding him. He's very young, but you got to say trick-or-treat. But it was fun. after like 8 houses, he's like, "All right, time to go home now." Like he was kind of over it. But he really enjoyed being Spider-Man. So that part was cool. All right. I do feel like Halloween is a I was never super into Halloween. I just find I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm a party pooper here, but dressing up was never anything that really interested me. It just felt like it sort of felt like attention getting, and I don't like to have attention on myself. When I'm out, I dress very casually and, you know, black or white. Like I don't want to stand out. So Halloween is like the definition of trying to stand out, and I was never really into that. But having a child, it's a little different. You get to see the joy through their eyes, so it's a bit of a different experience. All right. Stories. Should I start? So I got four things prepped here. Again, as I said earlier, none of these are really like, my usual videos now are 10 to like 15 minutes. All of these may be like 3 minutes each. I don't even know. JD Bovey says, thanks for the Friday Live. You're welcome. Thank you for the very generous $20 super chat. $20 deserves a sound drop. Though I never know which one to use.
When you have rational national priorities.
There you go. When you have rational national priorities. Quoting Bernie Sanders. All right. Before we even get into it, what are your predictions on the election? What do you think? I want to see in the chat. Just say Kamala Harris or Trump, Donald Trump. What's your feeling right now? I'm feeling a little more optimistic than maybe where I was a couple weeks ago, but I kind of think 2016 broke all of our brains to not trusting anything. So I don't feel comfortable in declaring someone's going to win. I don't know. But based on numbers like favorability, like apart from polling in state by state, just based on things like favorability, based on turnout that we saw in the midterms, based on engagement, based on the heightened women vote, all of that I think is leaning towards Harris. But still, 2016 happened where it was a 90% chance or 95% chance Clinton was going to win and she lost. So ever since that happened, it's kind of hard to trust anything. People are saying, let's see, Harris because Trump would be too crazy. Hopefully Harris, 60% Harris, 40% Kamala. Or sorry, 60% Harris, 40% Kamala. 60% Kamala, 40% Trump. Arizona, someone says, I live in Arizona, too close to call. Arizona's so weird to me because a lot of this attempt that Harris has done to try and appeal to Republican moderates, I would think that would play best in a state like Arizona, since it is the John McCain state, and it feels like there's a bit of a disconnect from that state compared to where a lot of voters are. But she's only gotten worse in Arizona since she made that turn to bring in people like Liz Cheney to her campaign. So I don't, clearly I've never been to Arizona. I don't know it enough to even give any kind of opinion, but I was just surprised to see the downturn in Arizona. A lot of people thinking Harris. All right, let's, can we get some balance here? Get some people saying Trump, so I don't feel so confident going into Tuesday. Harris, I'm in Philly, though, so a bit of a bubble. It's hard for me to tell. Yeah, all right. Well, we're going to see. I'm not even sure what the plan is on Tuesday for what I'm doing. We were going to maybe do like a Leftist Mafia live stream. Matt Binder's going to be on the Majority Report live show. Like they're doing a live in-person show, and I think it's also being streamed online. So he wouldn't have been able to be there consistently, though he was saying that he would be there between appearances. I guess they're going to have like rotating guests. It would be weird, though, just for Binder to come in every so often. And I don't feel like doing an all-night stream. Why? Just to sit there and watch numbers tick up? Like, I don't. So maybe when we get closer to a potential result, hopefully it isn't so close that it won't be called, then I will jump online and do a stream when we know who it's going to be. Michael Weaver, $20 super chat.
When you have rational national priorities.
Thank you for your generosity. So I'm cautiously optimistic. Women voters are coming out in droves. There has been an effort to calm down Arab American voters. Bernie video and some endorsements from Muslim leaders. Also, Donald Trump keeps messing up. I do think the rally last weekend is hurting him. Even though, you know, it wasn't him saying the words. The fact, it's so weird. Like, Trump says the most vile, racist, xenophobic, terrible shit all the time. But someone else does it. A comedian does it. And now it's a big issue. Like, why wasn't it a big issue before? But whatever does it, sure. I think it was just sort of a reminder of how terrible Trump is when someone is on that stage, on the Trump podium, saying something as clearly as, Puerto Rico's a floating island of garbage. But it is wild that I had to take that. Sam, thank you for your generous super chat. Says, have you played Black Ops 6? Yes. Dragon Age 4, so Dragon Age Veilguard. I want to pick it up. That's going to have to wait till I finish Metaphor. So your next game is Metaphor. Yes, I am about 45 hours into Metaphor. It's really, 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 really good. Probably my game of the year at this point. So I'm going to finish that. That's supposed to be about like 80 hours, 80 to 100 hours. And then I got Resident Evil 4, which is on discount. And those games always scare me. I'm not good with survival horror. But I do want to attempt to get back into Resident Evil 4 because every time I play them, I enjoy them. I just end up falling off because there's some dude chasing me. And I don't like that. So I end up stopping. That happened, in Resident Evil 2, someone chases you. Resident Evil 3, someone chases you. I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to be chased around this level. Resident Evil Village, same thing. Like, I don't want to be chased around. Just I don't mind the survival horror, but like, give me time. I want to explore. I want to take my time. I don't want to be running around a haunted mansion getting chased around. And Silent Hill 2, which is also, I find, very appealing. I do want to play Silent Hill 2, but I'm going to wait for a discount on that as well for the same reasons. Survival horror is scary. Carmen, thank you for your super chat. And Stephanie says, applauding you for teaching your darling son that he needs to say trick or treat. Bravo to you, Daddy. Also, thank you. He was really good at the thank yous, but he would like walk up and say thank you before he even got the candy. Now, you got to say trick or treat and then thank you. That is the proper etiquette. And Philip Schwartz says, how to stop macho men from voting. Tell them it's gay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Philip. All right. Let's get to the first story here. I'm not even sure how I'm going to properly... I guess I'll cut these into videos. Speaking of which, I should record my stream since I was not doing that. Okay, I'm recording. Everything still seems to be working. I kept having this issue when I was doing live streams, which is also part of the reason I stopped doing them, where my shit would just crash. Like, it was a 2017 iMac, which... yeah, it's old, but it was like an iMac Pro. It was powerful for an iMac at the time. But it got to a point where I wouldn't be able to stream and record at the same time without the computer crashing. I replaced it with the laptop that I already had, which is like, I think, an M1 MacBook. And it's fantastic. Like, it's a night and day difference. I didn't realize how much better this laptop would be than my iMac. But now I have no issues. Two more chats before I get to the first story. Cynthia says, I saw someone saying Trump can't be racist enough. Stupid stuff. Sorry. I saw someone saying Trump can't be racist enough. Sound stupid enough. Be misogynist enough for people to see him that way. Couldn't be truer. Even though he's being more extreme of each than most. Yeah. This is sort of the issue I have with the focus on his character now. Because at this point, if you're voting based on someone's character, you must have at this point already decided who you're voting for, right? You don't need another clip. Like, there was one that came out today of Trump. He wasn't really saying this, but essentially, like, the clipped out video is him essentially saying, what if Liz Cheney is in front of a firing squad? which, got a lot of play in media, of course. And it's a thing that if, Kamala Harris said, are you kidding me? The Fox News would be on fire. But we're just so used to it with Trump. Like, this is who he is, right? So it's no more of those clips are going to make any more of a difference, I don't think. The focus right now really should be on what this kind of stuff Harris is offering. Like, expanding Medicare to include long-term at-home care, I think, is an incredible policy that is not being discussed in the way that it should. But focus tends to be on character because it's sort of an easy thing to do. But I don't know if it's the most effective at this point. All right, one more chat. I'll get to the other chats after my my segments here. But Tales from the Road says, thank you for your channel, Leftist Mafia, my fave home for watching dumbass debates. Y'all make it bearable. Love your work. We'll tune in on election day. Well, as far as I know, we're not streaming election day. Lance may be streaming. And Mike may join him. Rebecca may join him. I'm not sure. But not sure what I'm doing yet. I think I'll just stream late when the result comes in. One more chat, because I just saw this, because I meant to talk more about Dragon Age Veilguard. Solitary Echo says, I heard Dragon Age Veilguard is really, really bad. So I watched SkillUp's review, who I don't always... I think he has great assessments of games, but I don't always agree with his conclusion. He has a really good critique of Dragon Age Veilguard, and he does not like the game. That said, he goes into it sort of expecting like Baldur's Gate 3 level kind of experience, and that's not what the game ever intended to be. It seems more of a laid back, action RPG. So I think depending on what you expect from the game, I think you may or may not enjoy it. I have enough games with the deep story and everything. Sometimes I just want to sit back and not think too much and just enjoy something, and that kind of seems what Dragon Age Veilguard can offer. All right, enough about important things like video games. Let's get to the unimportant stuff like politics. Chat off the screen, since I may be cutting these out this weekend. We'll see. There is a new ad out for the Democratic Party that I find to be pretty good. Now, I'm going to play this ad. I'm also going to show you how a conservative reacted to it, since it cracked me up. But stuff like this, I think, is incredibly effective because it gives you a scenario that, while not exactly completely realistic, does portray how different parties will approach this issue in terms of an actual policy. So here is the ad. I hope I don't get taken off YouTube for this, but there is no nudity, despite how this video may start.
Oh, God. The condom broke.
Oh, I have plan B in the bathroom.
Great. I'm gonna go get that now.
Sorry, you can't use that.
Who are you?
I'm your Republican congressman. Now that we're in charge, we ban Plan B.
No, you can't. You can't do this. I can't have a kid right now.
I won the last election, so it's my decision. Now let's get back in there so we can give her the news, Daddy.
That is a great ad. So this is from the Progress Action Fund saying, want to know what's scary this Halloween? Trump and MAGA forcing you to have a child when you're not ready. Republicans at every level have called for banning Plan B, so if the condom breaks, you're having kids, Daddy. This guy, by the way, whoever this actor is, great job at playing a Republican. Like that's kind of your standard Republican right there. Now, this group is partnering with them to run this ad in every battleground state, demonstrating what happens when MAGA-loving Republicans upend our democracy to serve their extreme agenda. So it's apparently being played in battleground states. The reality of it is this. I mean, not only has the Senate GOP attempted to block a bill that guarantees contraception, but the real fear is what may happen through the Supreme Court. So from Common Dreams, in 2022, when the right-wing majority on the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, Clarence Thomas said the court should also review the precedent set by Griswold v. Connecticut, which affirmed in 1965 that couples have the right to use contraceptives. So, there's this defense from Republicans, or not even just the right, but people saying, oh, they'll never do this. It's too unpopular, which it's true. It is very unpopular to block the use of contraceptives. But overturning Roe v. Wade, also very unpopular. Also something that did not seem possible or something that Republicans would want to do until it was done. So this is the kind of thing that people need to be aware of, just what the party, what the right wing is attempting to do. And there's a greater breakdown here. I'm not going to go through this, but the American Prospect really goes through a deep dive into how the party has moved on this issue and the intricacies of what they are trying to do. American Prospect, by the way, whether it's critique of Democrats or Republicans or just generally of the system, fantastic site, one of the key sites that I rely on for what's actually important. And I just got to share this. So, look, I still have not figured out if this guy is a parody, because he's posting stuff that just seems insane, but also posting things that regular Republicans would also post that are still insane, but the level of insanity that we're used to. But I got to just scroll out of the image. He blocked out the woman. You can't, she's not naked, but he blocked her out in his version of the video for whatever reason, because these people assuming this guy is real, but this guy is like what, 1.5 million followers. I got to assume is a real person, just based on some of the tweets that do seem to lean more realistic for the GOP. But Democrat group releases pornographic ad in effort to get more young men to vote for Kamala Harris. Don't let these degenerates win. The ad was paid for paid for by the Progress Action Fund and shows a young man having. Why are you leaving out sex? Having sex or X before finding out Republican congressman finding one in the bathroom. The ad is similar to a previous ad where a young man was masturbating. Again, why are we scared of these words? Before the same Republican congressman took his phone. So I saw that ad as well. I could show. Let me see if I could find that one. It may be on this page. Yeah, this one here. So if you haven't seen this, let's watch it.
Oh! Sorry, you can't do that.
What the hell, man? How'd you get in here?
I'm your Republican congressman. Now that we're in charge, we're banning porn nationwide.
You can't tell me what to do. Get out of my bedroom, you creep!
I won the last election, so it's my decision. I'm just gonna watch and make sure you don't finish illegally.
So good. I love it. So well done. This is stuff like this should be the focus. The difference in your actual life. I think this kind of thing does potentially move votes, especially ones aimed at men, which majority or at least white men are voting for Donald Trump. Something that I wish I could better understand. I mean, on some level, I get it. There's a lot of racist white men, but I have very little experience with conservatives. There are none in my immediate family. I may have some cousins that lean that way in some sense, but I've never been as crazy as some of these people I've seen, in the US. So it's just, I have a hard time even understanding the mindset of somebody who wants to vote for an election denying fascist. But this is where we are. So if you point out, hey, how this will impact your life if these lunatics get into power, this is more of an effective message than most political ads. All right, that's that video. I just saw another super chat coming. Where can I find these? Let me grab some more super chats and then I'll go to the next. Next segment. Holistic history. Thank you for your super chat. Says thoughts on Anna Kasparian and her trajectory. I don't know what's going on with that. It's not on all issues. She's still on the right side when it comes to something like Gaza, but it's just been weird to see the lurch to the right on some issues like defending Donald Trump and the calls that he's a fascist. Mike Figueredo, the Humanist Report, has a great video on that, and it doesn't focus on the drama of it or whatever. He focuses on what fascism is and why Donald Trump clearly is a fascist. And the excuse that some people use, well, he was president and where's the fascism? He didn't do it. That's like saying you can't call yourself a socialist until we have socialism and you did it. Like, no, just because you weren't able to completely implement everything you want to implement doesn't mean that the way that you carry yourself and how you would govern isn't what your belief system is in that ideology. You could still be, a socialist and live in a capitalist society. So it's weird to say, no, he can't be a fascist unless you live in Nazi Germany. Like it's bizarre thing to even argue against. Like why coddle the right? Look through history, look through the last 8 years. Coddling the right wing is not going to lead you to getting them on your side. You have to be honest with what we're seeing. But again, I kind of stopped watching them, to be honest with you. I TYT, it's no secret, was a major influence on me even starting this channel. And they were great, been great for you. Cenk, to be fair, Cenk was debating Anna on that, and he's not where Anna is. So it's weird to see Anna's moved to the right. But I don't know. I think she has admittedly, she said herself, she listens to more conservative things to kind of get what their perspective is. And it appears in that process, she has been taken in by that perspective. So that's kind of, I think, what happened, but I don't know. All right. So the last few videos here or segments are, as I said earlier, these are going to be short things, just stuff that I saw that was like, what is this all about here? What's all this then? But let's go to the next one. Piers Morgan has a show, and he's sometimes odd. He's an odd person. I've discussed before how I think Piers Morgan he has no real ideology. His ideology is to the dollar. What he thinks will get views is what he tends to do. So that has led him to having sorts of debates where he brings on people on opposite sides, regardless of how wrong the one side is. He'll bring them on to fight and sit back and watch it happen. What we may not recognize as often is how stupid some of his questions are. In fact, I am maybe being slightly hyperbolic here, but not really. This may be the dumbest question I've ever seen posed on a political show. So I'm going to play this clip and we will discuss this.
It just seems to be such a hot potato in America.
I think I put it on speed. Yeah, there we go.
It just seems to be such a hot potato in America to take it back to the States, when there are, in fact, a number of other laws, obviously, which are governed by states, not federally. And I'm just curious why this one is deemed to be so sort of sacrosanct, given that 50 years ago, before Roe Wade came in, it wasn't a federal law. So why are you so exercised about it? I'm just curious.
All right, before we get to Brian's response here, let's just go over this question again, okay? 50 years ago, before Roe came in, it wasn't a federal law. So why are you exercised about it? Why have a political show? This idea that, why are you so worked up about this thing that has now stripped rights away? Because at one point, it wasn't even there. What is this argument? I tweeted this out and somebody replied it. gave a good analogy here. 250 years ago, before the U.S. was founded, democracy wasn't a thing. So why are you so upset about losing it? Like that, he may as well have asked that. It's such a stupid question. You're hosting a show about politics. Do you know what you're doing? It's so dumb. But Brian Tyler Cohen, while he may be a bit caught off guard by the question, does a good job answering it here.
Why are you so exercised about it? I'm just curious.
Because I believe that people should be able to exercise rights over their own bodies. I mean, prior to black people having the right to vote, they weren't allowed to. I would be worked up if that was rolled back too. Prior to women having the right to vote, they weren't allowed to. I would be worked up over having that too. Prior to black people having freedom, they didn't. I would be worked up if that was rolled back as well. We deserve rights, we deserve progress, and the notion that we should just take it lying down when those rights are rolled back defies reality.
He does a good job there. I'm just still amazed at how stupid of a question this is. I find shows like this, like, think of how little effort Piers Morgan has to put in. All the effort here is on the producers, whoever books the show for him, because it's on them to figure out, okay, who can we get on that's going to have a good fight? And that's what they end up booking that, while Piers sits back and just poses topics. This involves so little work. He doesn't have to research anything. He doesn't have to put anything. And to be fair, he has segments where he doesn't have, a debate. And again, these shows have producers that do all the work for him. But the bulk of what goes viral for him, the bulk of what does him numbers, are these sorts of debates where it's just the people fighting and he's just sitting back and either taking it because he's losing every debate he's in, or it's someone else fighting. It's kind of disgusting how politics has been made into this sort of entertainment sport, where like there are aspects of coverage of political issues that are done through entertainment that I think are useful and important. I think comedy is probably the best way to inform people about political issues. Debates can do that, though they tend just to be a way for you to rah-rah your own side. But he's really turned it into, like, the issue I have with how he does the debates is many of his debates are about issues that should not be debatable. You cannot debate whether or not a genocide is a good thing. Yet he debates that all the time. He has those debates on his he has one side defending what Israel's doing, which is a genocide, and the other side that is fighting for human rights. These are not debatable topics. So if you're going to have a debate, at least have a debate about an issue that is a debatable issue. But to create debates out of things where there should be no debate, such as human rights, I find to be reprehensible. All right. 2 more segments here. How's chat? How you all doing? I'm seeing several people call him. Oh, no, it's one person calling him Piss Morgan, Looney Tunes. Is that a thing? Do we call him Piss Morgan? That's rude. I wouldn't call him Piss Morgan. His name is Piers Morgan. He's just not too great. It's all car crash TV. Mm-hmm. Seth says, "Good, David. Happy to see you live. I'm happy to be live." I kind of miss doing these Friday live streams. I think it was this week we did the podcast on Wednesday, so there's a good buffer between that and today. Because Thursday nights take me out. I am, I wish our podcast was recorded in the morning. It would be a lot better for me. By the time we even go live on the podcast, I'm sort of already beginning to zone out mentally. So when it runs to 10:30, 11, my mind's about gone. And then the next day I have no energy. But doing it Wednesday, I think, is a little better. Mellowfire says, "I miss the morning rash." That's old school right there. That was my morning Twitch show I did for maybe a month before abandoning it. But that was fun. My partner did not like that name. I thought it was great. The Morning Rash. I think I ended up changing it to something else. I forget now. All right. Let me get to the next one. So this will be quick. It's really just a clip I want to share. It is the final days of the Kamala Harris campaign, and they have brought out the celebrities, even more celebrities, which normally, look, celebrities, whatever, I don't really care. It's hard to really know what kind of an impact celebrities even have on a campaign. That said, Jennifer Lopez gave a speech at a campaign rally in Nevada, and I think this was pretty good. So I'm not going to show the whole thing, but there is a clip that is sort of making the rounds that I found to be fairly effective. So check this out.
Please, and remember, somos una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. Let's get loud! Let's get loud! I promised myself I wouldn't get emotional, but you know what? You know what? We should be emotional. We should be upset. We should be scared and outraged. We should. Our pain matters. We matter. You matter. Your voice and your vote matters. And look, don't be afraid to make people around you uncomfortable. Invite people around you to be the change, to go out there and vote. Nobody likes having tough conversations or talking about politics, but trust me, I've been in some of these rooms. I see the way power works in this country. They love it when you do nothing, okay? A non-vote is an agreement. It just makes it easier for them to do whatever they want, whatever serves them. And this election is about your life. It's about you and me and my kids and your kids. Don't make it easy. Make them pay attention to you. That's your power. That's your power.
I think the point there is so accurate. They love it when you don't pay attention. They love it when you're not engaged. In fact, I think this is part of the reason why Trump has been such an effective messenger is he just inundates there's crap after crap, lie after lie, story after story. There is so much garbage all of the time that even me, as somebody who is, my job is to cover this and know what's going on, I can't keep track of it all or even remember it all. There's stuff that Trump has done and been convicted of and faced charges for, like, stuff that I just forgot the details of because there's been so much of it. Whereas if it's been like another, politician, that would have been what they're known for. But he has like 100 of those stories that there's so much that it is so easy for people to feel like, F this, I don't want to pay attention, I don't want to get involved, I don't want to do anything, whatever. But you can't. That's exactly what they want you to do. That's why he has been effective. That's why Republicans have been effective. They have disarmed people by the amount of garbage they have put out there, making it so tough to even want to engage with it. One of the few ways you have to engage in a democracy, to have some impact on the world around you, is through voting. That isn't to say it's the only thing or the most important thing even. I think when it comes to actual progress, that's done through grassroots movements, and we've seen that throughout the years, throughout the decades, be it the power of unions and the sorts of policies they got pushed forward through collective action. That is where real progress is made, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't engage in voting. that doesn't mean that voting doesn't matter. Voting is incredibly important. It's one of the few ways the few ways that everybody has to directly have an impact on the life that you live and what's going on around you. So even if you feel like I do, as someone who covers it, exhausted by politics, exhausted by the news, don't let that stop you from, at the very least, ensuring you vote. And understanding as well that voting is a tool. Just because you vote for, say, well, hopefully in this case, you vote for Kamala Harris, just because you vote doesn't mean that you're agreeing with everything that she does or everything that she's done or everything that she said. It is simply a tool in a democracy where you have two choices that are going to win. That's the reality of it. And you have the ability to prevent a complete maniac, a fascist, someone who tried to literally steal the election through a fake slate of electors, had a whole plan, just didn't have the VP on board. This time, it's going to be different. He's going to have everyone, he's going to be surrounded by sycophants. You don't want to give that guy power again. After he learned the lessons of how he failed himself the first time, now knowing the kind of kiss asses he needs around him, someone like J.D. Vance, who absolutely would have helped Trump steal the election. So it's very important to be engaged and, at the very least, ensure that you vote. All right. One more story. The last one's kind of a bit of drama, but it's fun. But before I get there, look at all these chats. Radzoso, welcome. Thank you for your super chat. It says Brian Tyler Cohen does a good job covering politics from a legal perspective. I got to be honest. I know of him. I know he's very popular. I don't really watch him, so I can't comment too much on what he does. But good to hear. There really isn't much that I engage with in terms of political shows, except for I'll check out the Majority Report. So, I mean, they have great interviews as well, so they do stuff that not many other channels do. And occasionally, other videos here and there. Just reading the chat here. All right. Let me do this last video and then we can chat some more. Oh, I just realized. Okay. The video I'm going to play is through Mediaite, which almost always has the most annoying ads that I can't skip. But whatever. I'll just have to edit this later if it's in a proper video format. All right. Conservative Hugh Hewitt has quit the Washington Post after a testy exchange on a live video show that they had that I didn't know existed. But he apparently, I'm going to show you the video. After storming out of this, he quit the Washington Post completely, which has been going through its own issues after not being willing to come out and give an endorsement for Kamala Harris because of the pressure from Jeff Bezos. But putting all that aside, this is, I got to say, this is just fun. This is a fun thing to watch. It's hilarious. See Hugh Hewitt get so incensed. And then what's funny as well is that I'll get to some of what he's angry about here and, the story behind that. But let's first watch this clip.
Like this week, Donald Trump is laying the groundwork for contesting the election by complaining that cheating was taking place in Pennsylvania by suing Bucks County for alleged irregularities. And this is on top of his continual assertion that if he loses, it's because of cheating?
Yeah, that's what he's been laying the groundwork for this, just not in the last week, but in the last umpty-ump months. No election can be fair in Donald Trump's mind, unless Donald Trump wins it. And I think we are going to see him both rev up his supporters to contest elections outside of courtrooms and go to every courtroom he can in America where it's relevant to make whatever arguments he can, no matter how far-fetched. We saw
Jonathan, I've
work
got to
out
speak up.
last time, but it didn't work
Let
out
Ruth
this time.
finish,
It
Hugh.
may not work. That may not happen this time. And now I'll let you go, Hugh.
Well, I've just got to say, we're news people, even though we're at the opinion section. It's got to be reported. Bucks County was reversed by the court and instructed to open up extra days because they violated the law and told people to go home. So that lawsuit was brought by the Republican National Committee, and it was successful. The Supreme Court ruled that Glenn Youngkin was successful. We are news people, even though we have opinions, and we have to report the whole story if we bring up part of the story. So yes, he's upset about Bucks County, but he was right, and he won in court. That's the story.
I'll let you keep going, Jonathan.
No, I don't appreciate being lectured about reporting when Hugh, many times you come here saying lots of things that aren't.
I won't
based
come
in
back,
fact.
Jonathan. I'm
But-
done.
but-
I'm done. This is the most unfair election ad I have ever been a part of. You guys are working. That's fine. I'm done.
So Ruth, you wrote a column this week ending with this line, and actually I think this is perfect. We're going to put it on the screen. You wrote, "You want to know the stakes of this election? Not only democracy, but decency." Talk more about that, Ruth.
Okay, I'm collecting myself.
And then she freezes, and the next minute or the next couple minutes is Jonathan Capehart trying to wrestle with the connection here, and it's just very awkward. So Hugh Hewitt did in fact end up quitting the show. So just in, a veteran Washington Post columnist quits after walking out of live event. So this was, I guess he spoke with Fox News Digital, saying, "I have in fact quit the Post, but I was only writing a column for them every 6 weeks or so." Hewitt claims he told opinion editor David Shipley of his decision to leave the company on Friday morning. So he was one of the few. I'm not sure if this is true, but he was a vocal pro-Trump voice within the editorial board. I don't think he was one of the few, but he is a pro-Trump voice, and he's one of these guys that tries to sanitize the right wing and tries to sanitize Trump. I mean, if you're still supporting Trump and trying to do it from an intellectual perspective, that is clearly what your job has to be. But what's funny about this, what I find so funny about this, is that there is actually some merit to what Hugh Hewitt was saying. So while Trump, okay, let me be clear here. The lawsuit was successful, and it was because there were polling locations that were being closed for mail-in ballots before 5 p.m. So I don't think I highlighted anything here, but if you get, so they were cited voters who were told by the county officials as early as 2:40 p.m. on Tuesday that they would not be able to apply for the ballot. So basically, they should have been open until 5 p.m. and they weren't. Now, even though this was I think a solid reason to sue, to ensure that people who wanted to vote were able to vote, I do think the intention here is not honest. I think the intention here is to lay the groundwork for future lawsuits, to say, hey, look, we sued before and we were successful because this was an obvious one, an obvious get that, honestly, even the Democratic Party could have sued here to try and ensure that these voters were able to vote. But this is a way to kind of lay the groundwork in for any future lawsuits that are not going to be as legally sound, but as a way to say, hey, look at our precedent. We've already sued and we were successful. This is part of the reason why we should be successful next time in trying to challenge, the election that in this scenario that we're discussing, Trump loses. So while I don't think the intent behind it was honest, it doesn't deny the fact that it appears Hugh Hewitt was correct to say that they sued for legitimate reason. But it is just to have. Look, I kind of think this whole endorsement, like having newspapers endorse a candidate, is a little antiquated and a little ridiculous. I don't think it's even necessary. Like I think there is some argument to saying that there should not be endorsements from the Washington Post or anybody, but do that, 2 years ago. Don't do that a couple weeks before the election. That's the wrong time to come out with that position, especially when it was clear that Jeff Bezos was the one putting the pressure on the Washington Post to not endorse anybody when you have on one side a clear fascist. So it just, so much of the reporting from whether it's the Washington Post, New York Times, for me, it depends completely on who is the writer of that piece, who is behind it, what is the intention. This is why it's impossible to just say, oh, the Washington Post is trash or the New York Times are trash. No, there have been investigative pieces done by both of those outlets that have been fantastic and important and are things that we can look to and cite. That doesn't mean that everything they put out is worth reading or worth considering. Like Hugh Hewitt, there's no reason to ever listen to that man. This is a guy who, was once somebody who was critical of Trump, and then like the vast majority of Republicans, both in political life and in media, came out to eventually endorse and support Donald Trump. I mean, it's so funny to go back and just see what Republicans were saying about Trump in 2016 prior to him winning the primary. People like Ben Shapiro, who were just, ringing the alarm bells over how crazy Trump was and how we cannot make this man the candidate. And now he's just out there defending Trump every single day. And Trump's only gotten worse in his rhetoric. But it goes to expose just how vapid all of what they pretend to argue for is. There really are no principles. It's simply about control. And as long as they want to continue supporting massive corporations, continue controlling people's lives, that's going to be the through line that brings all of these conservatives together. All right. That's it. That's it for stories. Look at that. A classic Rational Live where I do several stories in a live stream. This is what a rare treat. Hopefully for you, but for me for sure. Let me read through some of your chats here. What are you all saying? Let me bring the chat back up. There we go. What are your plans this weekend? Have you voted already? These are the questions I want you to answer before you ask me questions. Because it feels weird. It's almost weird that we're going to know, hopefully, a week from today, who the next president is going to be. And it came up pretty quickly, I got to say. And then maybe I can begin refocusing some of my time to, other issues. There is a Canadian election coming up next year that I got to start thinking about as much as I don't want to. Dango Bangle, is the show over? Well, you can rewind it. It's not over yet. The video or the news segment part of it is over. But I'll chat for a bit till I got to go. Immortal Pablo says I'm voting on election day. Good stuff. Fanders voted from abroad. The state is very red, unfortunately. Voted absentee last week, says Grumpy Cat. Checkmate says I'm going shopping at the mall, voting early and getting drunk with friends. That's a good thing. You should, I know it's a Tuesday, so it's a weird time, but make an event out of voting. Like I think that helps to bring people with you who, may not have voted if it weren't for the drinks afterwards. But whatever you can do to get people out there. Mr. Rabbit says, hey, David, I'm practically dooming right now, and a Trump presidency will definitely not alleviate my depression. Any suggestions to survive the next 4 years of potential hell? Well, I would first say don't get ahead of yourself. Don't get too doomer until we see what happens. At which point, focus locally. Focus on, family, friends, what's going on in your community. And I don't want to get too doomer myself until we see what happens. But oftentimes, at least I know personally, when I get too emotionally wrapped up in like the world and what's going on, I kind of have to step back and just turn the phone off, focus on my own life, what's going on around me. It can be really easy to get lost in just the insanity of the world and how terrible things are all over the place. But if you can keep it small, local, it I think helps to center you. The personal channel of Linkle Megs. Thank you for your super chat. Says, I love having a Friday live. Thank you for all that you do. Your approach is the best of all the channels I watch. I would love to see your coverage of the Canadian election too. Thank you. Yeah. When we get closer to that, I will be discussing more about that for sure. I already have several videos on Pierre Poilievre and whoever else. I mean, I did lots on Trudeau when he was first elected. The good and the bad. But now that we are nearing a high probability of a conservative government, I think it's important people understand what can happen under that. Lady Badass says, Dave, what are your thoughts on mental health services being covered by universal health care getting shot down by the cons and Ford giving everyone $200? The Doug Ford $200 for everyone thing is so clearly an obvious distraction and a way to try and get some goodwill before the election, even though according to polling, he's doing fine. But it's just it's so smokescreen. Like, it is so obvious that it disturbs me knowing that it's going to work because people are just, I don't know. I don't say dumb because it's not that they're dumb. They have busy lives. So when they're like, oh, I got $200 from Doug Ford, like that, they don't think about all they may have lost that exceeds that $200. Like, man, when it comes to mental health, that is an issue that should be covered in a way that it's not. I know I would personally benefit from that. I need some more mental health services for the amount of shit that I have to read every day and see every day. But it's fucking expensive. So it's a problem. Mellowfire says, I prefer you talk about video games, but politics is fine too. I would definitely prefer to talk about video games. Not gonna lie. At least right now, after covering all this stuff. But while I like talking about video games, I don't have any interest in covering them, if that makes any sense. Like, I don't want to do like video game news or anything. That doesn't interest me. So politics is always going to be my job. But casually, I prefer talking games. I'm looking around because I'm like, do I have any games on my... I, for some reason, randomly have... Look at that sweet autofocus. Castlevania Portrait of Ruin on the DS on my desk. I don't know why. I think this was sitting in an old DS that I found, and it's been sitting there for like 4 months. Yes, so Pogolaf says, someone was saying there's audio of Epstein speaking about Trump's White House. Yes, there is. I could discuss, again, that goes to what I was discussing earlier, is the character thing. If you're voting on character, you probably are already not voting for Donald Trump. I feel like we were already aware he was close to Epstein. This doesn't feel like new information to me. The audio tapes are new. The other issue I have with it is it's being shared by, what's his name? is it Michael Wolff? But he's sort of like a sensationalist writer, so I wish it was someone else that was releasing them because it feels more, not that they're not legitimate clips, because they are, but it would feel like it would feel more substantial if it wasn't that writer being the one that to release them. But regardless, yeah, I mean, I guess if there's still questions about Donald Trump's character, if you're still questioning whether or not Donald Trump's a good person, there's tapes of Jeffrey Epstein talking about the interactions within Trump's White House, and meaning that clearly Epstein was well versed in what Trump was doing in the White House from Trump's perspective, and how he would pit people against each other. So clearly they were friends, but I feel like we already knew that. I guess, I don't know. Mellowfire says, I just bought a 3DS a few weeks ago. 3DS is one of the greatest consoles of all time, and I wish I appreciated it more when it was out. I did have one when it was out, but I didn't really pay too much attention to it, apart from, a few games. But the past couple of years, I have really increased my 3DS collection. In fact, I even picked up, oh, it's dusty now. I picked up a 2DS, which is very dirty, but it's a very nice nice form factor, comfortable to hold, great little console. But 3DS is fantastic. Fander says, Canadian politics almost as wacky as U.S. politics. I don't know about that. I would say in terms of wacky, U.S. is more wacky. That doesn't mean we don't have problems. We got problems. But the wackiness factor is off the scale in the U.S. Javier, thank you for your super chat. It says, every time I get super doomed, I go online to see all the land I could buy for under $10,000. It would be so easy to escape. Where is that land? I need to know that. All that land you could buy for under 10 grand? I mean, sure, you could escape, I suppose, but I assume this land is still within the same country. Unless it isn't, in which case, I get it. Godcast says, cue the upcoming week plus of Sam Seder's Tim Pool analysis. I gotta say, I watched most of it. I'm like 20 minutes from the end, or 10 minutes from the end. There's not much to analyze. Tim Pool does Tim Pool stuff. He takes a position, says, no, that's not what I said, and that's rehashed over and over again, rinse and repeat for various topics for 3 hours. It was kind of frustrating. I wouldn't say frustrating because Sam did a fine job, but it was just like, it was annoying to listen to Tim Pool. More so in that discussion than in others I've seen. Because he was just so unwilling to be clear about what he was actually saying. PS2 was your last console, says Gulf Marine. Well, at least you went out on a high note. Quite possibly the greatest console of all time. All right. Probably jumping off shortly. Any more topics or questions in the chat? Fander says Emma Vigeland own him. Yeah. When Emma was on, I covered that. There were a lot of like highlight reel moments from their discussion that was easy to cover. In fact, out of all the guests I've seen on Tim's show, Emma's probably done the best. Because like Tim Pool got really angry. he got very frustrated with Emma. And Emma just sat there, calm as ever. Oh, Mr. Matco, thank you for your super chat. Says 3DS the best. Keep up the great work, Dave. 3DS is the best. Thank you. Lots of fantastic Atlas games on there. Actually, I made a big mistake of starting Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse a week before Metaphor came out. I don't know why I did that, but I'm like, I'm like 15 hours into Apocalypse, and now I don't even know where I am in that game because it's been weeks. But as soon as I finish Metaphor, probably not going to pick up. Apocalypse is great, but there's so much out that I haven't touched that I want to play. There are too many games is the problem. Way too many games. Are you not doing Leftist Mafia tonight? It's Friday. We never do that Fridays. It's usually Thursdays, and this week we did it Wednesday, which I think was better. But and next week we are, as far as I know, not doing an election live stream, but I may jump on just by myself when the result starts to become a little more clear. Bobby Digital says, I'm about to get my son a 3DS XL for his birthday. That is a fantastic freaking gift. That's what I tend to use. I have the 2DS I just showed you, but the 3DS XL is my go-to for 3DS games. Mr. Spock says, have you tried voice acting, Dave? I do voices to myself and to my family, and they enjoy it sometimes, but no. I have not tried voice acting. I wouldn't know where to start. I'll be honest, though. If I could be a voice actor, I would love that. That sounds like a dope job. I'm sure it's tough, don't get me wrong. And there's obvious work involved. But that's a job where you could definitely work from home. My mic's good enough. I could do it. I just, I'm not a trained actor. And so I'd probably have to be a trained actor first and then try to get into voice acting. Wow, lots of compliments about my voice. That's crazy. Even though I mumble a lot, I'll misspeak or say words incorrectly. If I can just hammer that out, just take my time. Usually it's the fault of the coffee, though. I'll have a coffee and I'm just hyped up, jittering, stuttering. I did grow up with a serious stuttering problem, so I've kind of thankfully addressed that mostly. Though there are moments where I'll just get stuck on a word. I'll try to say something and then I can't. So I'll just change that word and say something else that, is a synonym of that word. But there are still moments like that. I just think it's sort of, I don't know, whatever the inherent brain problem or issue is with stuttering, that is still there. But if you just take your time, work through it, you can eventually train yourself out of it. But there's always going to be a piece of that. Same thing with anxieties. I still, I used to have serious social anxiety. I've worked through that, but it's still a bit of it there. I still don't really love having to introduce myself to somebody new. I hate that. I'd rather someone come to me. I don't want to have to go up to somebody and be like, "Hi, I'm David, and I'm talking to you for some reason." When I was briefly a politician, going door to door or getting signatures to have to run was so hard. That was the worst part of the job. It was going door to door, which is a big part of the job. You can see why I'm no longer a politician. But speaking in front of a group is fine. I don't mind speaking to a group of people, a crowd. That's whatever. That's fine. It may be a little. There's anxiety beforehand, but in doing it, I'm fine. But one-on-one conversations are the hardest conversations. I'd rather speak to a crowd than introduce myself to somebody new. But these are all problems that we have, or that I have. But we all got our own issues. All right. Probably gonna jump off. Feel my voice is already starting to get dry. Should I grow my beard long? I haven't trimmed my beard in like 2 weeks. What if I just like Santa Claus it out? Would that be crazy? That'd be crazy. I shouldn't do that. I won't do that. But it would be weird. I can talk to people privately, but in social situations, not so adept. Yeah, for me, it's all just about familiarity. Somebody new, very hard to speak to. Somebody I at least kind of know already, much, much easier. But it's sort of getting over the hump of like, how much of myself can I be in front of you before I, can just be comfortable. All right. Donald James says, I remember when David looked like Jesus Christ a few years ago with long hair and a beard. Yeah, that was crazy. I am never, ever going to grow my hair that long ever again. That was a pandemic only thing. It's just so... I grew a greater appreciation for people that have long hair, especially if your hair's thick, because washing it alone, like my showers doubled in time. It takes so long to wash your hair when it's long in the shower. And then not to mention drying it, and my hair gets really poofy. Like I took a shower like 2 hours ago and it just gets like poofy. So that long, it's just like, it's too much to deal with. I can't do it again. All right, I'm burping now. Time to get off. Thank you all for coming to the impromptu live stream. This was fun. I appreciate all the super chats. Thank you. I'm just going to double check. I'm sure I got them all, but in case I didn't, just a quick zoom through these. Yes, I did. Thank you all so much. And I don't know. Let's hope next week goes well. Only a few more days. Make sure you all go vote. All right. Goodbye. Have a good night.